fellow Toastmasters and very, very honored guests. It's a pleasure to be here. My father was a contractor and an affable man. He used to install plumbing into the new foundations of home sites. And I can remember every single time that he would take me to a job site with him. My father drove a 1966 Chevrolet panel truck. It was the precursor to today's modern Suburban. Had a great big huge bench seat. Pretty well worn. A couple of tears here and there. The whole truck smelled of my father's pipe tobacco. Some of you, growing up, had a father that smoked a pipe. You may remember that as a very, very fond smell. I certainly do. Every time we went somewhere, it seems to me that it was always muddy. I was always getting my shoes dirty. My father wore those big buckskin leather construction boots. You know the type I mean. They come up over your ankles. They're protective, great big thick soles. My mother took pictures of me as a small boy wearing those boots, sometimes with little or nothing else. And I always remembered what it was going to feel like when I would grow up one day and I would be able to wear those types of boots. I was going to be a contractor, just like my old man. Now, when I was 7 years old, like a lot of young fellows, I started to play Little League Baseball. And our district had a good number of talented players. So it was safe to say by the time that I was 9 years old, I had acquired a little bit of skill in the game. My father would come home from a day at a construction site, and we'd go back and throw the ball around the backyard a little bit. I'd say, "Dad, you can't play baseball in those great big boots." And I remember he would say to me, "Son, doesn't matter what shoes you wear, if you can knock one over the fence." So I took that with me. Next baseball season rolled around, and as fast as children grow, wouldn't you know, it was time for a new pair of shoes. Now, everybody else on my team was getting sneakers. Some of the parents had enough money they could buy their children real baseball shoes with cleats. Wow. Well, what do you think I wanted to wear? Those great big tan buckskin construction boots came up over the heel, full protection, great big thick soles, just like my old man. I remember the first pair I got, they even smelled like those leather boots like he wore. What I failed to take into consideration, however, was the fact that now I was severely handicapped from getting to base because those boots don't allow you to run very fast or field the ball when you're in the outfield. But when I showed up to practice, I felt like $1,000,000 in my brand new Little Hank brand buckskin leather construction boots. And now the tormenting begins. There's Timmy Bennett. "Hey, you're never going to be able to pull that one off. You're never going to be able to get to first base with those boots." On and on it went, of course, from practice to practice. And even my coach took me aside. "John, don't you think it'd be better to wear a pair of honest athletic shoes?" And every time somebody said anything to me, I just remember what my dad said. "Doesn't matter what shoes you wear, if you can knock one over the fence." That season, I played shortstop, second base mostly. I never had to move too far to snatch the ball. And I remember one time, a big kid from the other team hit the ball right at me so hard it was coming right at my face. And if I hadn't reacted in the very last second, caught that ball in my glove, coach said I'd surely gone to the hospital with some broken bones and a concussion if it didn't kill me. But I stood tall, I stood strong in my new construction boots. Another time I assisted a triple play, and right after that, I noticed that I wasn't getting so much flack from the rest of the team about my choice of footwear. I kept to my guns, repeating what my father said. It doesn't matter what shoes you wear if you can knock one over the fence. That year we made it to the finals, and we were tied for first place with our arch enemy, the Blue Jays. They had a bunch of big kids on their team. We got new uniforms, Timmy Bennett got new cleats, and Jeff Thompson's father was going to treat us all at Pizza Hut after the game, whether we won or not, so you could tell that we were pretty pumped up about the whole thing. Game got underway, and everything seemed pretty good and pretty even for the first 3 or 4 innings. The Jays scored a run or two, then we would, then they would, then we would, like a regular season. And all of a sudden, our pitcher lost his arm. Our relief was out sick, so the coach put me on the mound. Now, as a second baseman, I could put it over the plate, but you can well imagine. My pitches were pretty easy for the Blue Jays to pick off. So we took a couple of lumps, they scored a couple of extra runs, and then the kid with the new cleats comes up and we get a double play. And that put us into the last inning, second half of the last inning. So now the score is 3-2 and we need to make one run. Pitcher steps up to the plate and whips one down at us. And I remember, you ever get that moment in time where everything kind of seems to slow down? Time seems to slow down, and that ball just seemed to kind of move down to about 5 miles an hour. And I can remember looking at it and I'm thinking, which fence do I want to hit it over? And wouldn't you know it, I swung with all my might, connected at the sweet spot on the bat, set the ball over the fence in the right field. So I felt pretty good about it. Now I've got to run to first base, and actually it was more like lumbering to first base in my boots. And I remember what my dad said. It was my time. It was my time for victory. And I can remember at the Pizza Hut later on, Coach said, doesn't matter what you wear on your shoes or what kind of shoes you have, if you can knock one over the plate. He gave me the game ball. Hey, Dad. Nice shoes.